What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Active Self-Protection Extra. I am Christopher Bean with Tactical Advantage, and today we're going to talk about the winter draw with an open front cover garment from Strongside.
The Filster Enigma is a revolutionary holster chassis system that completely divorces your holster and gun from your clothing, giving you unprecedented concealment whether in sweatpants or formal wear. It attaches to your AIWB holster via the wing and allows incredible flexibility for your concealed carry. Get yours at the link below.
Welcome back, everybody. So I made a video a little bit ago about the change in season and going into like winter wear. And that video was focused on the appendix draw with a closed front garment like a hoodie. But a lot of people carry Strongside. A lot of people carry like open front garments like jackets, things like that. So I thought it made sense to experiment and explore that a little bit. I will be completely honest and say that I don't normally carry or practice from Strongside, not because there's anything wrong with it, it's just not my preferred method. So we'll be learning some of these things together today, and you can watch me experiment and try and refine it. So I think the fundamental differences between the appendix draw and the Strongside draw from concealment boil down to about two things. One is how you go about clearing the gun, where in appendix you would use your weak side or your offhand, where in Strongside you're actually using your strong hand to clear the garment, and the other is what is your weak hand or offhand doing while you're getting the gun out of the holster. Those two things present the most opportunity to get better for me in this regard that I'm trying to experiment and understand. So my hope would be with any carry method that I have a reasonably expeditious draw. So from Strongside, as we go through and test this, anything below 1.2, 1.3, I'd be absolutely ecstatic with because I'm trying to learn a new skill or trying to perfect or refine a new skill. My average from appendix is around 0.80. Now, is there potential for me to get there? Certainly. But I actually want some adversity to present itself because it allows me more time to think mechanically and mentally what are the differences and what impact are they having. So if I chose to use this as my carry method or one of my carry methods, I'm really cognizant of those differences and can address them accordingly. So I have a very confident, composed, and organized draw. So with that being said, we'll go to like the difference one of the clear. So normally from an appendix position, I'm clearing with my support hand. Obviously the gun is on the right side of my body, I'm right-handed. So with this, I just want to simply with my fingertips sweep this garment out of the way and expose the gun. That's not incredibly difficult. I mean, we can make it as such, but it's not. It just needs to be organized. So with that being said, the other thing that you might want to consider, depending on your garment, if it's heavy and or light, the Goldilocks thing, it might bounce back to the front quicker than you want it to and recover the gun. One way to mitigate that is when you sweep the garment out, you can clutch it with your arm. And that way it holds it. I, luckily, with this garment, don't need to do that. But it is something you want to consider. And all of these things that we're going to kind of discuss is why you want to experiment with this. Whenever you have a big fundamental change in how you're concealing these tools, it really makes sense to understand the impact mechanically that it's going to have on you, and just really understand what your numbers are associated with those changes. So the next one, which this is the one I've had the most struggle with today as I've practiced this for a little while, is what to do with my support hand. So we all know the segmented learning of draw. Just take your support hand and place it on your body somewhere. Some proprioceptive index that tells you, okay, that hand's in the right place. I've noticed in some of my repetitions that I have a tendency to let this hang, and I'm trying to address it. It's actually quite interesting because when I'm practicing, I'm not 100% realizing I'm doing it. So I'm having to force myself to make sure that's where my support hand is. So my support hand placement, since it no longer has a job like it had in the appendix, is just to come right here, somewhere around my sternum. That would be somewhat similar to where my hand would land during an appendix draw, which is right about there. So that's not, or at least doesn't sound difficult to do, but when you're learning a new skill, that's what has expressed to me at least to be the most unreliable thing. What is my support hand doing? So those two things being the case, let's just try a couple draws and see what it looks like. So just make sure it's covered. That's the other thing I do want to quickly point out is that's a full-size gun outside the waistband with a compensator, an extended mag, and an optic. And, you know, with an XL hoodie or an XL jacket, it conceals fine. I don't know that I would go running down the street letting my hoodie fly like a Superman cape or doing jumping jacks or anything, but I think during the course of everyday life, certainly viable, and you can conceal a lot of gun. So, all right, let's go. So we really want to pay attention to the clear, and we want to pay attention to what our support hand's doing. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so that was a little bit janky getting my hand on the gun. All right, I wasn't paying attention to time because I didn't have a trigger press. Let's do one more. Okay. That was a 108. 108. So that's, again, it's taking so much mental bandwidth for me to remember, put your hand somewhere. Let's do one more. There we go. That felt a little better at a 101. And it actually felt relatively natural. One point of note I want to make as we're going through this, and it's really one of the things that expresses itself quite a bit to me with strong side position, is if you have an undergarment that's tucked in, please pay attention to this coming out of being untucked and getting in the path of that gun as you reholster. Even in practice, that's something you want to be very mindful of. Because it's prevalent. It happens a lot because the way that you're pulling that gun out, you can contact your shirt with your hands, and naturally that friction wants to pull that out. So we've got a couple reps in that felt pretty good. So again, we're right about that 1 second mark, give or take. We want to kind of see if we can clean that up a little bit. Let's try two more. That was 97, so a little bit better there. I know I got more in me. That was a 92. And I'm trying to be quite mindful of, and I need to kind of reset myself for every rep because I'm really trying, I'm reiterating this because getting this hand where I want it is the biggest hiccup that I'm running into. And what I don't want is with this hand to have no job, just to be hanging out here in space as I'm bringing the gun out. So it's costing me a little bit of mental bandwidth, but once you get this well practiced, that's all gonna kind of melt away. So let's see. That was a 98. And again, with the reholster, I'm just clutching the cover garment like we spoke about. The other thing to think about too, and this holster, since I don't really carry with it, isn't really set up perfectly for this belt, so it tends to move around a little bit. And one thing I've found at the hard 3 o'clock position, my grip, getting my grip onto the gun is quite repeatable. It's also quite repeatable at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, but there's a dead zone between there where it becomes quite unreliable for me. So if I was going to carry this as my preferred method or in my rotation of preferred methods, I would certainly do some work to make sure the gun is where I want it, when I want it. So I'm very much index oriented. So those things have deep, deep, deep impact to me, just knowing where that gun is at all times. So nothing wrong or anything in relation to the position itself. It's just a gear shakedown thing that going through this experiment process has exposed to me. And that's the point I really want to make with everybody. Whenever there's a fundamental change in how you're concealing or mechanically what you're doing, it's important to take a few minutes, experiment with it, and start understanding the nuance. What are the hurdles? What are the things that work really well? And what are the things that you need to work out to make this repeatable from a defensive standpoint? So in my work through this today, I'll probably get 100 reps in, maybe 150 reps. And what I'll do at the end is really think from a consistency standpoint, what presented itself the most that needs the most attention. So if our clear is 100% repeatable, is that where we need to put our mental bandwidth? If our support hand is what's causing the issue, is that where we need to put our mental bandwidth as we try and refine the process? And if it works great, it works great. So I'm actually quite excited about this. I really think I could refine this down to be very, very, very close to what my appendix is. I just need to figure out some of those little nuances. So we'll just do a couple more. That was a 90. So we're within a 1/10 of my average. Try one more. So that got a little bit back on the gun. But remember what I was saying before about the clocking of that holster? It's a little bit off of where it needs to be. So again, I could have rode that pony. I could have fixed that grip coming out, but that's not really the intent of what we're doing here. It's mechanically trying to get everything similar, and then we'll make the gear match us, not us match the gear. One more. Okay, that was a little much. Do one more. $92. So we're actually getting there, considering I was figuring I was going to be in the 1.5 ballpark. So it's certainly quick. I think you can definitely make this as quick or just as quick as appendix with a little bit of refinement and just practice trying to understand how it works. So again, I think it's absolutely viable. I could see myself for sure wearing this out in the really real world. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of work on this holster. Get it to be stable. A couple things again to think about. Make sure my clear is reliable. The clear has been reliable. The grip has given me a little bit of trouble. And the support hand's been a little bit unreliable with finding placement for a proper marry. That's good. Those are the things I want to find. I don't want my sessions to be perfect when I'm doing something new. I want something to present itself because that drives me to do better, to figure out fixes and workarounds. So hopefully the same thing happens for you guys, that you find some opportunity to improve it a little bit and it gets better for you. So with that said, thank you guys very much. I very much appreciate it. Have a safe and happy holiday. See you next time.